might lead. So we hope today to have some fun, be informative. We've got at least two folks that really know LinkedIn like the back of their hand, and I'm along for the ride. But
all right.
This is a means of introduction. I'll introduce myself. I'll turn it to Teddy, and then Teddy will introduce our guest today. So for those that may be joining for the first time, our lunch program started about, early April, when the world shut down. And Teddy and I got together on the phone and said, we ought to do something where we can have some fun, maybe help folks that are in job transition. So that's how this whole thing got started. We try to bring in a guest every week, maybe two guests, to talk a little bit about something related typically to the job hunt, but also to our own personalities, how we work with others and how we interact with those in the workplace. So hence, this is why we're here today. I'm Randy Wooden. I run our professional center of Northwest North Carolina for Goodwill Industries, and run at the center. We've been doing it for years. It's a lot of fun, a lot of work. But we do help folks, so we're happy to help anybody that might be in transition. We're free, and I know I've got a couple of compadres here that have devoted a lot of time and energy and passion to what they do. So I'll turn it back to you, Teddy, and then we'll get started with Hannah.
Yeah. Hey, I'm easy. I'm Teddy Burriss. I am beyond my love of helping people find jobs and all the job search groups that I volunteer in. I'm a LinkedIn strategist, trainer, coach, author, YouTuber, about ready to start doing some TikTok videos on LinkedIn. That'll freak out some people, Hannah. And I love it. I absolutely love what I do, and I have the time of my life doing it. And I'm glad to be hanging out with my buddy Randy, and I'm uber excited to have my friend Hannah Morgan join us in this conversation. So let me, high level, tell you who Hannah is, and Hannah can tell you who she is personally. So Hannah has a business called Career Sherpa. It's careersherpa.net, I believe, online. Okay. And she's one of the, this year's, listen to these words, one of this year's LinkedIn's top voices in career search and careers, job search and careers. Nationally recognized author, speaker, all about, listen to these words, job search strategies. Hannah's mission is very clearly to educate professionals on how to maneuver through this chaos that we call job search. Hannah, did I get close?
You got really close, Teddy.
So introduce yourself as who you are as a person, please.
Okay. So what I want people to know about me is that I love what I do, which is trying to help people navigate, helping people understand what that navigation path looks like, because it is different than the last time they went through it. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've loved it every single minute. But I started because I'd been in human resources. They used to call me the angel of death. They knew when I was walking into a room that somebody was going to get fired, because I was the HR rep to make sure that that was happening. So that sounds like a horrible job, but what it was, it gave me, the way I made sense of it was to say to myself, okay, this person had a chance to do the right thing. They don't love this job. If they love this job, they wouldn't be getting fired. So I am giving them permission to leave the nest and to go find that job that is really going to get them excited and that they're going to be good at doing and going to want to do. So that's how I got started in HR, which then led me to doing outplacement services, which I had no idea about. And I've been doing that ever since. So I think my background in human resources really gave me sort of a foundation to understand where people were coming from. And I've worked with a variety of different entities in helping job seekers. I've also worked in a business school in their career center, helping business school people get ready to launch their job search after getting a great degree. So all of that, it sort of adds to sort of what I know and who I've experienced with working with, and why I love it.
Yeah, real cool, real cool. And you know what? I get it. And a lot of your stuff that I see and read, it's clear that you love it. And that's important. I think it's important for all of us.
Absolutely. I want everybody to really enjoy what they're doing. There are a lot of things that we can do, right? But the key to satisfaction and fulfilling work is to enjoy what you're doing. I don't think you have to love it, because that sometimes gets a bad rap, but you gosh darn have to enjoy it.
Yeah. I'm with you. There's different flavors of love. And if you don't wake up every morning eager to move forward and do what you need to do, then you need to stop and ask yourself, Teddy, should I keep doing this? I'm with you. So,
yeah.
So the conversation that we want to have with you today is about the power of engagement. And I'll tell you a quick little story. There's no names on here. So I have this piece of paper that lists that I looked at 55 LinkedIn profiles. 19 of them shared content. 7 of them engaged. Of those 7, all of them were serial likers.
That's problematic.
Yeah, just a little bit. And by the way, I won't tell you the name of the company. I'm going to do a video on this later on, but it's a huge organization that just scared about their people engaging. But that is probably one of the most important things we can do in life.
Right. I'm an introvert. So, and I want to make sure everybody clearly understands that I'm an introvert, which means I can talk to people and groups of people, but my energy, I get energized by thinking and doing stuff on my own. I have a few relationships I have deep relationships with a few people. Like, that's my thinking. I can network only because I work really, 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 really hard at it. And I know that it's super important. What we're talking about doing on LinkedIn is networking, right? It's having conversations with people. Those conversations are text-based, but that's what we're asking people to do. And so we can all do it. I don't care if you're an introvert or an extrovert or an omnivert. Everybody can engage on LinkedIn. It's whether or not people choose to do that. But it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's what most people miss out on. So let's break this down in little chunks then, Anna. What is one really good reason why we should engage with people on LinkedIn?
So there are tons of great reasons, right? And so if I were to say, like, what's the top reason why you want to engage, is that it helps you build stronger relationships with people that are already in your network, your connections. It also helps you expand your network, grow your network, and meet new people. And that is why we're doing this, right? If you are on LinkedIn for the sole purpose and the only thing you want to do is find a job, then stay focused on the LinkedIn job board. Good luck to you. It's really that is a part of what LinkedIn is, but the real value is a long-term strategy that will work in the short term as well. So I don't want people to think, oh, networking takes a long time. No, it doesn't take that much time if you do it right. So engaging. Can we talk about what engaging is? Let me be going back to your points, Teddy, about what engaging is, right? So when you're looking at LinkedIn and you're looking at your home feed, they give you some very easy choices to engage. You can click on the like, the different ways to react. You can like, you can love, you can say it's an interesting idea, you can give somebody a handshake. What's the one I'm missing, Teddy? There's another one.
Let's celebrate, and then the far right is one that just escaped my mind real quick. But I think there's 5, and there's apparently another reaction coming.
It's a care one. It's something with a hand and a giving and a care. A hand and a heart, I think, is what it is. So they're lifting a lot of their ideas. So that is certainly one way to engage, but that's an empty way. As you notice, more people are just simply clicking on one of those icons and moving forward. That click of an icon doesn't do a lot. It doesn't say anything about you. It doesn't say anything to the person that is looking at it. It is empty. And we could do that all day long, and that's fine. But the purpose and why you're listening to us talk here is because you want to stand out. You don't want to be like everybody else. You want to be one above. So take the extra step. Click on the like, but then leave a comment. right? Comments are really the golden nugget. And then that leads us to the question of, well, what do I say?
Yeah.
Right? And I think that that's where people get tripped up. Well, I don't know what to say. Go read what the person wrote. And if you read what they wrote, there's certainly something that comes to mind about whether you liked it, you disagree respectfully, you have a different shift, or maybe you have a question based on what they wrote. If they shared an article, go read that article and see if there are any of the same questions that come to mind. But before you post anything, read what other people have written in comments. What are they saying? Maybe you can gain some ideas or build off of their ideas or tag in on their ideas. So what I'm doing all of this takes a little bit more effort, takes a little bit more time, but it makes the whole experience more rich and rewarding, not only for you, the person leaving the comment, but for the people that are in that discussion. You look better, everybody looks better.
Yeah. I'm with you, Hannah. I look at when I'm doing this research, and I do this all the time. I have a phrase for the person who all they do is like stuff. They're referred to as a serial liker.
Yeah.
That doesn't help.
Not Rice Krispies, the other kind of.
Yeah. And then then there's also the person who comments, "Oh, thank you. Oh, congrats. Oh, this is good." I use the word meaningful. What is your meaningful comment? And so why in the big picture? I mean, I got the build a stronger network, grow your network, but there's another thing too, and this is the stay top of mind. How does that work?
Yeah. So the wonderful thing about LinkedIn is that when you are leaving a comment on somebody else's post, that will show up in the feed of your network. So all of your connections and we don't know, we can't control the LinkedIn algorithm. We don't know exactly how it works, but sometimes what your comment, that the article that you commented on, the post that you commented on, will show up in the feed of your network. So that then is a trigger in their mind. Oh gosh, what's Hannah up to? Because anytime something shows up in a home feed, you see the person's face and their tagline, their headline on LinkedIn. So to even just have your headshot and your headline show up in somebody's home feed because you've been active on LinkedIn by sharing something or commenting, that little tiny act is enough for people to say, oh, that's Hannah's face. Let me go see what she's sharing. Right?
Exactly.
You want that name recognition. The people that you used to work with are probably thinking, gosh, what's Hannah up to? Oh, here she is on LinkedIn. Let me see what she's saying. So it is not a perfect way because we can't really control it, but we can influence the chance that our name and our headshot is going to show up in our connections feed if we're leaving good comments and we're sharing content on LinkedIn.
That makes me think, Hannah, that shouldn't there be a strategy to what picture you use on your LinkedIn profile and what headline you put out there?
Yes, absolutely, Teddy, right?
Because a picture of me and my puppy? Me and my puppy?
No, and oh, I was going to put my sunglasses on. It's not you and your sunglasses either. Yeah, so and this is my favorite, Ed Hahn. Everyone knows Ed Hahn, the recruiter, who's awesome, great, right? Has he been on your show? He should be on your show. Invite him on.
I might make that happen. Thank you.
Yeah, invite him. So shout out to Ed Hahn. Follow him on LinkedIn if you're not following him. Anyway, he says your LinkedIn headshot and headline follow you everywhere on LinkedIn. So whenever you leave a comment, whenever you share a post, whenever you say something on LinkedIn, your headshot and your headline accompany you. So yes, you need a decent headshot. It's a professional thing, but you don't have to have a professional photographer take it. If you've got an iPhone, they do really great portrait shots, right? And you can have your kid, your 8-year-old, take a headshot of you with a decent background and smiling and looking at the camera, right? But the headline is a little bit trickier. And if you're struggling with what to put in that headline, I'm going to send you back to Teddy because that's a whole process within itself. You need to be very strategic in what you put in that headline so that it grabs the attention intention of the person reading it. It's also SEO optimized, so people might come across it, and it's clear and tells people what you do. What makes me sad is when I see people say, I'm in their headline, project manager, ABC company.
Mm.
What is that? Do you know how many different types of project managers there are?
Yeah.
And I don't care that you're with ABC company, because that doesn't tell me anything. So it's really understanding that headline has to be more than what LinkedIn suggests, recommends, that headline has to be descriptive of what makes you special, unique, memorable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Hannah, I just wanted to put a quick pause in here and encourage folks that are watching us. If you have questions about LinkedIn strategy and how you can up your game, go to the chat box and chat those questions in. We'll try to get to them. We did get one that came from Denise talking about connecting with people. And I know, Teddy, you've talked it, and Hannah, I'm sure you'd agree that you want to do it with purpose, and there's some strategy behind it, and we'll get into that. But something that Denise had shared regarding connecting is that some employers simply want their employees to connect with everybody in the world, thinking that that somehow is a magic formula for success. So we know it isn't, but that's unfortunately a lot of times what happens. And you get these requests from people, you don't know who they are, they don't tell you why you should care. And it also reflects somewhat poorly, I think, too, on a company if you have a lousy LinkedIn game. If your LinkedIn page is bad, or you're acting inappropriately on LinkedIn, that reflects on you, but also indirectly maybe on your employer. So there's a lot in play here. But again, if you've got questions, go ahead and chat them in. We'll try to get to them.
Yeah. Hannah, you want to speak about that? Do I connect with everyone or not?
So LinkedIn, here's the deal. There are no rules, right, on LinkedIn. It's a free market, and it's up to each individual. And so and I know that there are people who connect with everybody. We used to call them lions. I don't even know what they call them anymore, right? And that's a strategy. There's nothing wrong with it. They've got a reason for wanting a vast network. Like, it helps them in the long run, some way, shape, or form. And then there are people in the far other extreme that say, I won't connect with anyone unless I've met them first. And then there are people in the middle who are like, I don't know, sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. So I think that it's important as an individual to understand, what do you want your network to do for you? How do you want to use your network now and in the future? And be purposeful in who you allow into it and who you reach out to. So I think that at this point in the game, if you have a small network, under 500 people connections on LinkedIn, that you want it to grow, and you don't necessarily want to just rapidly grow it with anybody. You want to connect with people that you genuinely already know, people you used to work with, people that you went to school with, people that you stay in touch with on other social media platforms, right? So that's your core base, those people that you know professionally and you know well, and maybe even personally. Beyond that, I think that each person is going to have a little bit of a different angle on who they want to connect with. They may want to say, I want to connect with people who do what I do in other companies so that we can talk shop and learn from each other and share ideas. I want to connect with people who are in a different industry, because in the future I plan to move to a different industry. So I want to talk with people who are in a different industry. I want to connect with people who are thought leaders, but that's where I'm going to say, hold the phone. When you think about connecting with me or connecting with people that have a lot of followers or a lot of influence, like I don't even know, like people who are really popular, like the influencers, you don't necessarily need to connect with them. You may just be fine following them. By virtue of following them, you still see most of what they share as a status update. You just aren't sharing their network with them. And there are some people who would prefer that you follow versus connect. Following can lead to connecting, but following means that they won't be able to see what's going on in your network, and won't be able to see your network, but they will see what you post and share. So there is that subtle difference between following and connecting.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan, as you are, Hannah. I hope that people see what I share and want to follow me, because that means I'm at least sharing something that somebody thinks is useful. And so building a following network. And by the way, also, and I would ask you this, if you agree this model or you do this model, I have followers who become connections and then become, advocates and business partners. It happens, but it starts with at least acknowledging that we're each of us are out there, and we figure out who each of us are and where does that connection go to.
So thank you for sharing that, because I really think that following is almost sort of like the more subtle first step before asking somebody to connect. So if you have always wanted to work for a company and there's this a person who's a manager in that new company that you don't know, before reaching out and sending them an invite to connect, maybe you can try following them for a couple of weeks. And that way you're more likely to see what they're sharing, or at least be able to comment on what they say. I always think that it's always a good idea to comment on somebody's status updates before you reach out to them and invite them to connect, because then you're a known entity. They will have recognized your name before they get your invite to connect. So if you're reaching out cold to somebody you don't know, that's sort of a big ask, in my opinion.
It's sort of like when I was first dating my wife, I just kept peeking around the corner at her, up in Maryland at a carnival, and I didn't say anything at all. And I'm being totally satirical. This
until the cops came.
It did not happen, Randy.
Well, until the cops showed up. When the cops showed up.
Yeah. But you just can't peek around the corner at someone and expect them to engage with you. You've got to say hi. Yeah. So come back to.
There's a question too. We have.
Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah. We have a question that says, I saw some job posting which I was looking for, and I commented on that post and then send connection request, but I never get a reply or anything. Have can I improve that? I'm not sure I quite get
I totally understand what that person is doing, right?
Yeah.
So they have seen a job posted on LinkedIn, and oftentimes they will say that this person is the person to contact for that job. This is the person posting the job. So they send an invitation request to that HR person to connect with them. And the HR people either accept or don't accept and don't do anything. So my recommendation is HR is great, but they're not really always the best people to connect with on LinkedIn, because they're not the first people to, did you just cover your mouth, Teddy?
I'm with you. I got a million HR buddies, and I'm with you in that philosophy.
I think that they would agree. They want to be helpful, right? But my recommendation when I work with people is to say, your best bet is to connect with people who are actually in the department where you want to work, because they know what's going on in that department. HR is in a different department, and you don't know how closely they're monitoring what's going on in that division, that group. You don't know how close that relationship is with the hiring manager. And there are a lot of HR people who say, yeah, send me a resume, I'll float it along. But there are a lot of them that say, no, I am following the process, and our process is this, right? Apply online, go through the ATS, and if your resume shows up, we'll talk to you. So that's like HR has a different purpose. So sure, you can try and connect with them on LinkedIn, but my recommendation, if that's not working for you, to actually try and find somebody inside the company that's in the department where you want to work.
And one of the things I compare it to is winning the lottery. And if I'm sitting here winning and I win $100 million, I get two people that want to be my best buddy, plus 45,000 other people that want a piece of me that are watching this thing because I'm sitting on a pile of cash. Flip that over now. And so now my job becomes protecting that, keeping the boundaries. And the same thing when there's a job opening. I'm pretty well connected in our local SHRM organization. And almost to every person we ask is, hey, when there's a job opening, that HR person now has that $1 million, and a bunch of people want to kind of get in with them. And HR people prefer when there's an active job search going on, they want to keep people at arm's length.
Yeah.
And so they'll encourage you, make sure you apply. And so the strategy, and I fully agree, is, you want to find somebody who can advocate for you, but the HR person and trying to connect to them while you're an active candidate going for the job, that's a little bit pushy. And to me, I think it's a bad look. But your thoughts? Is that something you should hold off on, or go for it and customize the invite, or what do you think?
Hannah?
I mean, my preference is to go directly to the department where you want to work and find somebody and that angle to build a relationship with versus starting with HR. You can do both. I mean, there's no harm in doing both, but I would never overlook. I think the more important person to connect with is the pertinent person inside the department. That's what I think.
And of the 45,000 people that are listening to this, 46,000 people who are listening to this call, who just broke past, 2 of them are personal HR professional friends of mine, and I think the words they just used in the chat say "still love me."
Good, right?
They basically agree that the HR has a process that's supposed to follow. And HR is not, for the most part, most organizations, HR is not going to get in the way of you making a personal connection with a business professional in an organization for you to have a conversation about what's going on and learn about it. And isn't that what it's all about anyway?
Yeah. Which makes you a better candidate.
Yeah, absolutely. So Hannah, come back to this one. This is another good one, I thought. So you talked about build and grow your network, and you use words very similar to mine with like-minded. You use the word thinkers. I might start using that. Like-minded thinkers. So that's great. So what do I do? Just get out on LinkedIn and find a bunch of them, send them a bunch of freaking invites, and or is there something more that I should do?
Well, first you have to find those like-minded thinkers, right? Where are they? Who are these like-minded thinkers? And so I think that one of the things that I got into the habit of doing that has helped me, and it's sort of what I recommend to people, is to give yourself freedom every morning or wherever, 15 minutes in the day, where you just read through your home feed with sort of a look for what are these articles, what are articles that I should be paying attention to that are relevant to my next career, that are relevant to what's going on in the world, and let me go read those, right? And so as you read the article, then you go, or the post, then you go read the comments. There may be people who are talking about things that you are thinking too after reading the post. That's a like-minded thinker that you don't know yet, right? So you could leave a comment on a response to a comment of somebody of that article and say, I was wondering the same thing. How is that working? What do we do next? How do we overcome this problem? Whatever. So that's one way to find like-minded thinkers. I think that oftentimes if you look at who your network is engaging with, when you see pop up in your home feed that my friend Teddy just commented on a post by Randy. Well, I don't know Randy, but let me see. I still see Randy's post. Let me go see what Teddy and Randy are talking about. Ooh, I should know Randy. I don't know Randy, but I should know him because he and Teddy are talking about something that's important to me.
He's an amazing guy. He's an amazing guy. You really
He's a super fun guy too. Yeah. So I think that that's another way that you can be on the lookout for people who are like-minded thinkers that are talking about things that are also important to you. You can also go up to the LinkedIn search bar and type in a topic or a question or a theme of something that's important to you professionally, and then search by content and see who else is talking that way, writing about that stuff.
Also, following hashtags can be of help. We have a question from Mike. He asked this question about the headline, okay? And should you use the words seeking opportunities in your headline under your photo if you're actively looking?
So LinkedIn has just launched. Teddy, is it available to everybody? I think it may be.
No, it's still rolling out.
Okay, still rolling out? Yeah, the green circle. So LinkedIn is rolling out the ability to give everybody who categorizes their availability of open to work and visible to public with the green circle. That's going to be available to everybody soon. It's rolling out. But right now, what we can all, I think we can all still do is select whether or not we want our open to work being visible to recruiters or to everyone. I think that subtle shift change we can make right now. And so if you want everybody to know that you are open to work, then you would just click that button, that button to let everybody on LinkedIn know that you're open to work. And then a little box appears in your in the top part of your info card on LinkedIn. So you don't need to show that you state in your headline that you're open to work, open to new opportunities. As a matter of fact, I don't want you to broadcast and use that really valuable headline space to include that information. It's much more important for you as the job seeker to make sure people know what you are good at doing, what you do, versus that you're open to work. Because here's what we know: recruiters don't care really if you're open to work or not.
Right.
They would hire you if you had the right skills, whether you were working or not. So we want to make sure that we're giving recruiters, people who are interested in what information, the most important, meaningful information first, which is what we do. And we don't want to use valuable headline space to talk about open to new opportunities.
And I'll put a link in the show notes this goes to our YouTube channel, and I'll put a link there, and everybody is on here. We'll get a link to that playlist later on today or tomorrow on what that link is, Hannah. I can't remember. It's always tricky to find that stupid thing,
It is.
you know, that open to work button. So
because they keep moving it and changing it.
I know, you want to keep us on our toes. Randy?
Hey folks, we're halfway through today's show. Hannah is joining us, Hannah Morgan from upstate New York, not far from Cooperstown, a place that I visited many times and would love to go back again. Absolutely. Well, there's not a whole lot of baseball going on unless you live in Korea these days.
But Cooperstown is beautiful. What a really pretty spot.
Countryside and just the Fenimore House.
They've got some breweries there. They got it all going on.
They do. Yeah. And Hannah is the owner or the director, or what? I guess you do everything because you're the founder. CareerSherpa.net. And I think Teddy has put that in the notes, and it'll also appear in some of our follow-up information. We've recorded this. It'll be available on YouTube for the millions worldwide who have great interest in what we're doing.
Hey, don't exaggerate, dude. We're only at 47,000 people. You're exaggerating.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, again, I was a media major. I was not a math major. So take that for what it's worth. But hey, if you have questions about LinkedIn, I've got two folks here. Teddy is my guest, not my guest. He's my peer, but Hannah is our guest. She's got close to 300,000 followers on LinkedIn. That didn't happen overnight. She knows what she's talking about. And so if you have questions, you better ask them, because this is a great opportunity.
And if you're not following Hannah Morgan on LinkedIn, you're making a huge mistake, because beyond being an absolutely fabulous person, she shares a lot. So Hannah, let's go to another thought.
Yep.
Okay. Personality. Now hang on now, lady, calm down, you know? Should you show your personality on LinkedIn?
Right. So this is the problem with resumes, first and foremost, that your personality never shines on a resume. But
you do that in 8-font courier pitch?
I know, right. And on a piece of paper? No. So the wonderful thing about LinkedIn is that it allows you to have a conversation in a typewritten, in a text format, right? And it shows your logic, it shows your thinking, it shows how you process information, it shows how you react to other people. So your personality, whether it's very serious Marius, which most people say I'm very serious Marius, or whether you're a Weisenheimer and you were really great, or whether you're somewhere in between, part of how you communicate on LinkedIn in the comments comes across to people. Right. So I think that engagement and how you treat other people is a really important component of what people are thinking, evaluating when they read what you write. I don't know if you get this too, Teddy, but when I share comments, when I post stuff about, okay, I recommend networking to look for a job, 99 times out, I can guarantee you, I'll get 2 or 3 people who will say, I'm 55 years old. And I'm making this face because this is how I'm reading it as they write it. I'm 55 years old and I don't know anybody and nobody wants to hire me because I'm old. And I don't think this networking stuff works. I've been trying it and no one gets back to me, period. Now that comment is not going to generate a good reflection of me, for me, of that person, and for anybody reading that, right? It sounds negative. It sounds like they're complaining. LinkedIn is not where you go to vent your frustrations in a griping way. The other thing to note about every comment that you leave, it's publicly viewable on your profile. So I can see every comment that Teddy has ever left on LinkedIn. The good, the bad, the ones he doesn't want me to
No,
necessarily.
I deleted those.
Well, yeah, and hey, just real quick, want to interject. And I actually had this with a client the other day who asked me that very question. They, in the heat of the moment, went there and made a comment that they wish they hadn't made. So I was able to show the client how you can go back in your own history and to be able to go back and delete it. Hey, we've got a couple other Q&A. I'd prefer it if you could stick it in the chat box because I don't multitask very well. Again, I'm old, but I'm older than 55, all right? So just leave me alone. Get off my lawn over there. All right, so here's a strategy question. I get this a lot because I don't know about you guys, but you get these invites to connect that they're just the generic ones. They've got no accompanying text. There's nothing been done. It's like, who is this guy, right? But in my line of work, I get a lot of that because these are job hunters. They've heard of me or of our program, and so they don't maybe know the proper etiquette. So they need me, and well, yeah, I'm happy to have you, and now we can try to educate them. So let's say, and here's the question, once you have connected with somebody on LinkedIn, do you recommend continuing to communicate via LinkedIn messaging, or should you use the email that that person has included in their profile? That's the question from Jody.
Is that Jody Dietz, my friend from Rochester? Hi, Jody.
One and the same, absolutely. Yep.
Okay, I'm going to give you my spin on this, and then Teddy, you can give Jody your opinion. I believe that more people use email than they use LinkedIn. So my recommendation is, whenever possible, avoid messaging people through LinkedIn and use the regular email system. LinkedIn is fine, it's great, but it's not where people live. People live in their mailboxes. Send them an email. That's my take. Teddy, what do you think?
I say this. First step, telephone.
Oh.
It doesn't work. It's a problem. Okay. Telephone. If I connect with someone and I want to develop a meaningful relationship with them, I'm going to call them if I can. If I can't call them, I'm going to email them. If they give me a Yahoo email address, I'm not going to email them, especially if they're a business professional. I'm not going to email them at Yahoo. But then I'm going to have to resort to LinkedIn. And Hannah, I'm not sending a LinkedIn typed message. I'm going to use my mobile app and I'm going to send them a recorded message. That freaks people out in a positive way. Yeah.
So you're really going new school, a great blend of new school and old school, right? What I found, yeah. So that's another avenue to take, right? So what we're saying, folks, is always do more, take the harder route. Don't do what's easiest, which is whatever most people do, the easy route.
Or nothing.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right, cool beans. This is good stuff, Hannah. Good stuff. And I'm with you. We got to show our personality, and our personality needs to be something that is worth sharing. So hopefully our true personality is a kind, gentle, engaging, friendly, encouraging, motivating, all that kind of, real stuff.
Well, and also, so let's just talk about those people who are really creative, that are out of the box thinkers. Like when you leave a comment, you're going to ask a question. Have you thought about doing it this way? Right. So that shows your creative thinking and the positive creative thinking. So I think that there's so many different ways in which we are interpreted by what we write and how we comment on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And go ahead, Randy.
Well, I was just going to interject. Again, I don't know about you guys, but I get a ton of invites to connect from people I've never met. And a question I get from a lot of clients is that very thing. Yeah, I'm a job hunter, but I get a request to connect. The guy could be a little sketch. I don't know. I mean, it's hard. How do you know? And so for me anyway, a lot of times, unless they're totally sketch, and we can define that any way we want to, but if I think there may be a reason that they should have said why they want to connect, I'll go ahead and accept that connection and then query them back as to how I can be of help. So here's, I guess, a follow-up for me personally, but also for others in that same boat is, okay, I've connected with this person and now they're not responding. It was just, oh, I just wanted to connect with you. Do you recommend cutting the cord at that point? And do they become a follower at that point?
No, they go straight to
Or
nothing.
they just go back to Never Never Land? Is that
So this is what happened to me. Let me give you an example, and I'll be
yeah.
interested to hear. So I had somebody who I didn't know send me a basic customized note. It said, "Hey Hannah, I saw you were just nominated for Rochester for the LinkedIn whatever top voice. I'd love to connect with you." And that was it, right? So I sent him a message back because I think his background was something strange. It was not a normal occupation kind of thing. So I sent him a message back and said, help me understand. Oh, I know what I did. I sent him a message and said, please follow me on LinkedIn using the follow button and follow my work on careersherpa.net. That's everything that I'm sharing. So please feel free to follow me. And then he sent me back, but I really want to connect with you. And I said, well, please help me understand why. And he said, because I want access to your network. And at least he was honest, yeah. Right?
Transparent.
Yeah. Yep, there we go. So I didn't do anything because we weren't connected, yeah. but that we don't know what people, and there are a lot of people that just want to grow their network by connecting with people who have a large following. And that's my problem. It's not necessarily everyone else's problem, but I think that if for any reason you don't want to connect with somebody and they haven't given you a good reason to connect, then you don't need to connect with them.
Yeah.
Something that, and you can speak to more detail on this, most people only think when you get a request to connect, you only have two options, to ignore or to accept. But if you go into the network across the bar, you can click on manage, and that way you have a third option with anybody. And that is to send them a message back to clarify why do you want to connect. So I think we need, if you could talk and elaborate a little bit more about that and the value of kind of querying why somebody wants to join in other words, you don't have to vote them up or down. And then if they don't respond,
right.
You know?
Right, then you can make a decision, right? So I do that a lot, I did that a lot, and I know people do this a lot, and it's just a genuine curiosity. You know, I want, my logic is, and I put this in my message, I want to make sure that I keep my network meaningful to me and to others. Help me understand what the value of wanting to connect with me, or how we may have met and I've forgotten. And if they don't respond to that message, then I just delete their request.
After a couple of days or 3 or 4, or how long do you give them? How long do you give them to respond?
Yeah.
It's usually a week or more.
Okay.
I get Hannah, you and I are on the same page. I have a very deliberate process. If you don't tell me who the heck you are and what the heck you want, I send you a message back, ask you who the heck you are, what the heck you want, how can I help you? I give you 1 week to respond. If you don't respond in a week, I send you a message back and say, hey, didn't hear back from you. I hope you're doing well. Please follow me on LinkedIn, Quora, YouTube, and my blog. And then I hit the button and say ignore. It's got to be treated like a business tool.
Yeah. And so that's us as a business, right? And I think that that's exactly the same way that somebody who's in job search would want to perform as well, right? You've got to be thinking about this sort of before you decide randomly, willy-nilly accepting invitations to everybody. How does this person fit? And have they explained to me how they fit?
Yeah. So Hannah, this is good stuff. We got a few minutes left here. Really do appreciate you showing up and helping Randy and I help these, we're, 47,000 people that joined us and close to 2,000 people on Facebook. Wrap this up for us, the power of engagement and your high level philosophy of engaging on LinkedIn and the benefit to job seekers. Could you wrap that up?
Yeah. So what happens when you are active on LinkedIn by engaging and commenting and sharing content is that you're able to stay more connected with your network, to gain more visibility, to establish credibility and authority in the area in which you are talking about, writing about, commenting about, as well as establish online visibility, right? So you're more likely, your profile is more likely to show up in the search engine results and LinkedIn results if you're active. I can't prove that, but I have a huge hunch that that's all, that there's so many factors, but being active and engaged on LinkedIn on a consistent basis can only help people find your profile and learn about you, which is ultimately what job seekers want.
Yeah, we want to be seen. So, hey, Marina, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, is joined in today from Italy. We have not been to Italy yet, Randy. We just hit Italy, dude.
Ding, ding, ding.
That's awesome.
So
That is awesome. There are so many, it's a big world out there, and there are a lot of folks that get on LinkedIn for a variety of reasons. And somebody had commented earlier, they're getting a lot of financial planner invites, and I've had several in the last few weeks. So I think they have lessened or loosened some of the restrictions on financial planners and what they can post. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
because they didn't used to be able to be active on LinkedIn at all.
exactly. So I think they're jumping in with both feet, and I think they need some help. So there's business opportunity for both of you, is to educate that industry. But a lot of do's and don'ts. Anything else you wanted to share? Maybe some anecdotal things that just make you scratch your head. Anything?
I think there's some bad people in this world. Like, there's some people with bad intent, and so I want everybody. This is true for anything. Like, just be smart about who you choose to connect with. Look at their full profile, see who else they're connected with, do a little background check, because ultimately you're giving them access to your network and the information that you put in your profile, and you want to be sort of protective of that stuff.
cool. Hannah, Randy?
Well, something, and because, I'm highly scientific, Teddy, remember, right? This piece right here, this is what we're going to talk about. It won't take but just a moment. Time management. People say, how much time should I spend on LinkedIn? You've talked about being purposeful and strategic. So let's break it down. When we talk about time, how much time a day are we looking at here if we're in the job hunt? And how do you break that down, just briefly?
Yeah. So I wrote an article about maximizing your time and job search and building out a schedule that you populate. And so I think that that's absolutely a great question. And I've also said that I don't want people living on LinkedIn. I think they can be spending more time on LinkedIn now than they did pre-COVID. But I would say no more than 2 hours on LinkedIn a day, and that's a lot. I think that they're better off spending small windows of time, maybe 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at lunch, and 30 minutes after hours, because I want them to be very focused on what they're there to accomplish during that time. So review in the morning, first thing, review, who do you have invitation connections from? What notifications do you have to respond to? What comments are you going to make that morning, right? So that's my morning activity, and all of that probably takes a half an hour. Right? Because I've got to read things before I respond. Then the afternoon, I'm just looking at, like, what are the new posts that have come up? What are the events going on that seeing in my newsfeed that I need to pay attention to, maybe register for? What are the comments that have been made to my responses where I've been commenting? Where are my notifications saying? And are there more people that I need to connect with because I haven't reached out to them yet? So I think that the bulk of time should really be spent being proactive, thinking about who are the people that I need to be approaching, what message do I need to get out there at this point in time, and how can I stay in front of my audience? What can I say? What comments can I leave?
Yeah, cool.
I missed a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm sure there's a lot more.
That's the thing about this tool. It's my Swiss Army knife has 8 blades, and LinkedIn has way more opportunity for us to use it for lots of different ways. Hannah, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate you showing up. Again, Hannah Morgan, careersherpa.net. Look for her on LinkedIn, follow her, engage on her content, and I promise you'll learn from what she has to share. Randy, I got you and I are close. I have it, man. I know what I want to talk about, dude.
That makes one of us. Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a few minutes, dude. Okay. Here's what I want to talk about. LinkedIn is not just for you to get on there to find some dude, the HR manager, the department head, and hit them up and ask them for a job. LinkedIn is not for you to connect with people and for you to achieve only for you to achieve your goals. Listen to what I said. LinkedIn is not only for you to achieve your goals. It's got to be networking for mutual benefit. You've got to connect with people and you've got to be willing to help others. If you're not willing to help others on LinkedIn, that's called one way. Some people call it, one way Charles Street or whatever. It won't work. You've got to be willing to help others. When you're willing and you execute on helping others, you're in your LinkedIn network, they are going to be more willing to want to help you. Never forget that. It's really, really powerful. I call it giving, and you've got to be willing to give. Lecture's over, buddy.
So here I am. A famous football coach for Ohio State who was fired because he couldn't beat Michigan. But he said something that was pretty cool one time, and he said, "Luck is when preparation meets opportunity." Oh, I can't believe how lucky this guy is. He landed a job. Well, a lot of this stuff is more than just simply pounding out resumes all day. To your point, Hannah, if that's the only reason you're on LinkedIn is knock yourself out, go hunt for jobs and spend all day filling out applications. But as we all know, we do business with, and we tend to hire people that we know, like, and trust. And LinkedIn is not the be all end all, but it is a tool to use to at least begin to foster some level of relationship. And whether it takes the form of a phone call or ultimately when we're let out in the world again to meet with people and it's a real live handshake, you never know where those relationships are going to lead. And so look at LinkedIn in some ways beyond the strategic piece, but say, okay, you know what, maybe I'll cast a little wider net because I don't know necessarily which relationships will foster deeper relationships. So I think we need to be a bit open with that as well. It's strategic, but also open to learning and meeting new people, because I can't tell you how many people I've encountered that have helped me business-wise, personal-wise. But I got to tell you one real quick thing, and I know, Teddy, we've got just a handful of minutes left. We need to mention next week's show, but I'll tell you a story about how I got on LinkedIn. And I hope I'm remembering this right, because again, I'm old, Hannah. So let me talk closer to the mic so you can hear me. This was back in 2004. Back in 2004, I was self-employed doing this kind of work, and I had a client, a guy named John, who had some ties, and I'm kind of half making this up because, again, it's been a while back, but anyway, he had some friends or acquaintances who were familiar with this new thing in the beta testing stage called LinkedIn. This is back in 2004. I don't know when it was founded. Was it 02, 03 or something like that? 03? So anyway, this guy, John, said, why don't you get on LinkedIn and try it out? So I'm thinking, okay, well, MySpace was about as sophisticated as I chose to get. And I said, all right, I'll get on it. But I got on it and there was nobody on there. Nobody I knew, except John and maybe 100,000 other people in the world. I mean, it was so new. And I honestly, I told a couple clients about it and then forgot about it. Never even gave it a thought. And about 2 or 3 years later, I had a client who said, hey, Randy, I found you on LinkedIn. And of course, I'm the job hunt guru guy, and I'm going, LinkedIn. Yeah, I had totally forgotten about it. But the whole point here is this: it's a horse you got to ride. And for people who say, I've never needed it before, again, nobody wants to hire me because of whatever. I think you're really missing the boat. And it's like exercise. It takes time to develop. But if you're doing things purposefully, with integrity, being relevant, all the things both of you talk about, it's going to lead to good results. And so I'd always encourage people, stay with it. And if you need help, ask for help, because there's so many people that are ready, willing, able to help because they care. And they've probably made the same mistakes at some point that you might be making. So again, hats off to Hannah for taking some time. And Teddy, I'll turn it back to you to wrap things up and let us know what's going on next week.
Yeah. So, hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to hit some of the questions that popped up just a few minutes ago.
Okay.
Is alignable, credible? Carol asks, is alignable, credible, It is a growing. Hannah, are you on Alignable?
No, I'm not on Alignable.
Yeah, I'm experimenting with it because as a social media strategist, I'm obligated to experiment with everything, including Tinder, which by the way, it's a joke. 43 years, I'm Tinder free. But Carol, for a business professional, Alignable is interesting. I don't know how relevant it is for job seekers. So anyway, I just wanted to touch on that. And James asked, should we review connections and delete or unconnect from those who are not relevant? Hannah, what is your thought on unconnecting? I don't either. Yeah.
Because they're not relevant, but that doesn't mean that you still know them. They may become relevant. I just wouldn't disconnect.
Yeah. They may not be relevant today.
Right.
But they could be a connector or a portal to someone who is relevant to you today. So absolutely good stuff. So, hey, this is what we got, folks. Check it out. Next week, we have another fabulous special guest going to join us. It's a good friend of mine. His name is Daniel Lobb, L-O-B-B, Daniel Lobb. And the conversation, I think I wrote this down right, Randy, having a mindset for success by being a totally responsible person.
Well, that will be a change for you and me. Totally responsible.
Totally
you know what?
responsible.
I know we're out of time. I was going to, you know how sometimes I do a rapid fire question round with, you just make up 10 random questions, kind of yes or no, but we're out of time. We don't have time for that, but there's so much to learn about LinkedIn. So Hannah, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, how best can they contact you?
Yeah.
To follow up? Yeah.
So they can certainly follow me on LinkedIn, or they can reach out to my website. There's a contact form there at careersherpa.net. My email, don't tell anybody, hmorgan@careersherpa.net.
I'm old.
Oh,
Hey,
man, I just typed into the chat box. Is that
There it
okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
It'll
All
be our
right, folks,
secret.
ready?
We won't say anything. It'll be our secret.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
We did good, buddy. We did this in an hour.
Yeah, we could have gone another hour. In fact, I drone on for 2 hours every Thursday doing LinkedIn with clients. So there's a lot of time. We'll have you back on, Hannah, at some point. Bring you back and.
Love that. You guys are great. This was fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for the idea about Ed. I will call him and I will find a way to
Ed
get
on.
Ed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great resource. So anyway, this is Teddy Burriss, my good friend, Mr. Randy Wood, and our special guest, Hannah Morgan. This has been another one of our fabulous episodes of Lunch with Randy and Teddy.
Yep.
And we will do it again next Wednesday. If you know anybody who's interested in the conversations we share, please tell them about us.
And topics too. And topic suggestions.
Yeah, any topic suggestion, throw it our way. We need to hear your ideas because we don't make this stuff up. We share with you what you ask for.
We do.
So, all right, Hannah, Randy, see you all later. Be good.
Take care.
Take
Bye
care.
now.